Hi and welcome back again to my channel. My name is Joshua from Tag, and in this video we'll learn more on list and arrow. So let's get started. So we all have an understanding right now of how a typical Arrow Studio platform looks like. Let me take a mind back to the last lessons we did on vector and some basic operations we can do with vector. And one thing we stressed is the fact that vector is one of the data types in Arrow that stores objects of the same class. So this is what I mean. So I'm going to create like a vector, say vec, and then remember the C function for vector, and then the argument would be the objects you want to store in the variable vec. So I'm saying 1, 2, 3, 4. So when I run this on a global environment, I have the variable vec created using the vector function for the class numeric. So let us take, for instance, I want to add to this existing vector. We have talked about how to do this in the previous video. Let's say I'm adding something that is not of the same class with the argument we have inside this vector function that we use in creating the variable vec. So let's say I'm adding Joshua, my name, to it. So this is what I'm going to do. I'll say vec. I still want to give it that name. Then I use the C function, and then I use this to combine the old vec, which is the vec having 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then I'm adding something to it. I'm adding Joshua to it. Joshua. So if I run this, look at what will happen to the class of the variable vec. So the moment I run it, that operation changes the class from numeric to character, and so the length has changed from 4 to 5. At the same time, the class has changed from numeric to character. This is because vector can only store objects of the same class. So when you have the combination of both numeric and character, what Arrow does is that it changes everything to character if you're working with a vector. So if your intention is to have them in their respective classes, if you want to store in a variable object of different classes, so that is where you use the list function. So let's take, for instance, what I want to store them in a list. So each of them would be in their respective classes. So this is what I'm going to do. I'll say vec underscore l underscore list, and then I'm going to use the list function. Very simple, just press list, and this is the beautiful thing about Arrow Studio. It brings it out for you, and then you can select, this is what I'm interested in, the list from the base package. And so what I'm going to do is I have 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then the next thing I have is Joshua. So if I run this, there is no issue. So I have a separate area for values and another area again for data. So there we have the vec underscore list, and it's a list of 5. So I can easily click this place and you will see a lot of things which I will explain in later class. And so when I run vec underscore list, you see it prints out everything in their respective classes. 1 still maintains its class of numeric, 2, 3, 4, and then this is Joshua, still maintaining its class of character. Unlike when we used vector in combining them, and everything including these 4 had to take the shape of the character, like as we see 1 being quoted, which is not meant to be. So anytime you want to do combination of objects of different classes together in Arrow programming, it is advisable. The best thing you do is to use the list function. So if you look at what is going on here, you would see it prints out everything in their respective classes like one, and each of them are like separate entity. So you can combine together not just individual values, you can as well combine a vector, like vectors together using the list function. So let's say I want this whole thing now, I want to combine this whole thing into a single vector, like all this number 1 2 3 4, like a single vector. This is what I'm going to do. I will introduce inside the list function the vector function, and so I will enclose all these things in a bracket, and then I change the whole thing again and I run it. So when I run it, let's check again the objects we have in vec_list. So if I run this, so vec_list just have 2. Everything here has been combined into one thing, and then the next is Joshua. So this is one very important thing we need to understand. So it is also possible that in a list we can also have a function. It is possible for us to also combine together using the list function a vector as well as a function and as well as a matrix. So let's have again, I'm just going to work on what we have on ground already. So we have vec_list to be list C, a vector inside a list, and then we have a character, and then I want to talk about having a function. So you can indent your code, you can bring it down like with the enter key, and then this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to say main. I'm using a function inside the list, so I'll say main of C. Okay, now before I do that, let me explain the importance of having a vector inside the list function. So if I say 2, 5 and 6, look at it, and so I can choose to run everything. You can highlight this whole thing or just leave your cursor on any line of the code and run. So if I run this whole thing, the list is created and stored inside a vec_list variable. So if I check my vec_list, let's see what goes on with the main. So we have 2. So meanwhile, the mean of 2, 5 and 6 is never 2. But what array is doing here is that array do not understand what you are doing, because it's just like I just saying the mean of 2. It takes the first value and it gives you back the answer. So because it's seeing each of them as a single entity. So if I change this to like 7 and I run this whole thing again and then I print this, you will see it will give me 7. It will just give you the value you have on the first part of it. So if you want to like get the mean of a certain values, all you need to do is for you to make our understand that these are quite different from each other. So you use okay, good. Let's run the code. So you see we have that. So if I highlight the whole thing and run it, we have an error. The code is not complete. Anytime you see like a plus like this on the console, it shows that the code is incomplete. So we need to add like one more bracket, and so you can run the code directly, or you highlight as I've done, and then you run it again, and then you have a vec. If you check the vec_list, so now we have the mean to be 6. So we could easily, let's try that out and say the product of 7, let me say sum 7, let's see 5 6, and then let's divide it by 3. Summation f of s divided by summation f or summation x all over n. So that is how we arrive at the value 6. So I've just proved to us that in a list we can combine with a list a vector, character, and again a function. We can as well combine with it a matrix. So let's take for instance, I have a comma, and then we have length matrix. Have you done that? Okay, yeah, in the short introduction I did on data types scenario, we talked about matrix. So then I say matrix, and I'm using, just let me create like a square matrix with the dimension 2 by 2, and I'm using values from 1 to 4. I don't want to waste time. Then I say comma the number of row. I don't want to waste time by using the concept of direct matching, so I'll just say 2 and then 2. So what I mean here is row 2 and the column 2 is 2. So if I run this, look at what happened again. Let's check our vec underscore list, and so the matrix is already added to it. So you could see, so in the list now we have 4 objects of different types. The first type is the vector, the next is the character Joshua, the next is the main, and then the last one is a matrix. So it is possible for us to like give a name to each of the objects we have combined together with the list function. So now I'm going to do it this way: names, that's the function we're using, giving names, and then I'm giving names to objects we have in this variable vec underscore list. Let me space down so you can see. So I'm using this assignment operator, which I would advise us to use always against the equal to, like I said in previous video. So I'm going to say vector because I'm combining more than one name. So the first is a vector object. I'll say vec obj, and then the next is chr obj, like a character object. The next is a function func, and the last one is a math object, matrix object. So if I run this, automatically a name has been created for a vec underscore list object. So if I run vec underscore list, you would see, let's check. So you could see this is a vector object 1 2 3 4. This is a character object Joshua, this is a function 6, and this is a matrix object. So if your interest, this is what we'll do in the next video. So if your interest is in taking out the matrix object from the vec underscore list variable, so all you need is to say vec underscore list, and then you use the $sign. So when you have the $sign, it lists out the named objects, the names of each of those objects that we have inside the list. So then I can click on this and run it. So I have that alone. So I want to believe we've gained something, new, for those who are new to this channel, and for those who have been following. I want to believe this is quite a nice session of we gaining some knowledge on the use of R for data analysis and some bits of academic work. So I want to say a big thank you for your time. Thank you for choosing to learn R with me. So if you are yet to subscribe to this channel, I would encourage you to please do so we could have like a wider coverage and have more people get to know about this. Good job. All right, once again, I'm grateful. God bless you. Have a great day. Bye.